Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. You're most welcome to this course. This is a revision course in Quranic Arabic grammar. It would be based on what I have been teaching in Radiance, which is an independent series, and plan to continue this series for about 5 years, in which we will continue and finish Arabic grammar of the Quran. So just a primer, inshallah. When you will be through these 4 classes, of Quranic Arabic grammar during this Ramadan, inshallah, you will be able to join the routine classes of the Radiance, and then we can continue till next year when we'll have another revision series. So, most welcome to all of you, and I would request all of you, if you are, I think Bakar Sahab is driving, that from the next class, if it's not possible for you in this class, to keep your cameras on so that we can have an interactive session, right? So let's start. When we talk about Quranic Arabic grammar, it's just like a very old English or very old Urdu. So if you are well versed in the contemporary English or Urdu, then you might, if you're talking about English language, if you're reading Shakespeare, for example, a lot of words would be difficult for you to understand. And if you start talking about maybe anything in that particular language, then what will happen is that a lot of people won't be able to understand you. Isn't that the case? So if you're talking in Urdu, for example, and you are using the language which is used in maybe Ghalib's Shairi, then it will again be difficult for you to, for anyone to understand what you're talking about, right? So in the same way, when we talk about Arabic grammar, so Quranic Kareem was revealed 1400 years plus ago. It's been a lot of time. So the Arabic which has been used in the Quran is very different from the Arabic which is used normally now. That is called modern standard Arabic, right? Or MSA. So modern standard Arabic is different. So if you learn these things which I'm talking to you, which I'll teach you, and you go to an Arab country and you try to speak this language, people might understand a part of it and you will understand a part of what they're saying. You'll pick up words here and there, but uh, you won't be able to probably understand whole of that particular language, what they are talking about and what you are talking about. So this is the first thing that should be clear in your mind, that it would be difficult for you to understand the Arabic which is being spoken in a particular area, right? So since we are based upon the English grammar, we'll talk about parts of speech first. In English, you have 8 parts of speech: nouns, pronouns, adjectives, adverbs, verbs, interjections, prepositions, conjunctions, right? In Arabic, you have only 3 parts of speech. So, what is actually part of speech? That means that anything which is coming out of my mouth, that means any sound that is coming out of my mouth, then it consists of a particular type of or category of words in which I have classified them. So in Arabic, we have only 3 parts of speech. So the first one is called ism, and that is equivalent to nouns. All the pronouns also come in the ism. Then we have fail, that is verb, and then we have harf. Uh, it's called particle if we translate it, and it is equivalent to, like, it consists of the words which can be called prepositions, and uh, all of the prepositions which we use in English are part of like particle, right? So how do we define them now? As in English, it is the name of anything, and it contains all the pronouns as well. When we talk about fail, that means it is something which shows an action being done in the past. It was done in the past, has been completed, or is still going on, or it is being done in the present or will be done in the future. Now, there is a difference in Arabic and English. So, when we talk about English, you have three different tenses: either it's past tense, it's present tense, or it's future tense. When we talk about that in Arabic, you have either past tense or something that is called fi'l mudare. So mudare is either present tense or a future tense. So the context will tell you that if I'm saying something in fi'l mudare, it is either future or present. So you classify verbs in only two tenses, fi'l madi and fi'l mudare. Then there are other types of it, like in fi'l madi, like in English, you have present continuous tense, perfect tense, all that. In Arabic, you also have certain types, but we are not going to discuss these types now. Now means not today, not in these classes, because we haven't reached to that level in Radiance as well. So I'll leave it for the future. So in SM, you don't get a tense, and in fail, you get a tense, a particular time period when the word is being performed. Then there is harf or particle. The third one, which is particle, that is, these are the words which, when combined with another words, then they give a meaning. For example, min is a particle or a harf, and when I say min al baiti, that means from the house or from the home. And if I say ilal baiti, ya ilal masjidi, that means to the masjid. Min and ila are particular words which we call huruf. They do not have a meaning, a meaningful understanding. They have a meaning. Without any other word, they don't give a sense, right? So these are the three parts of speech in Arabic grammar, in Quranic Arabic grammar, and Arabic language. Now, the most important, Wakar Sahab, if you can focus on your driving, it would be much safer. I won't be worried if your camera is not focused. So focus on your driving. It's better to be safe. So you can see the recording as well at a later time period. We'll upload it because we're recording it. When we talk about how are you going to learn this language, the most important fact you need to think about is that a language consists of two things. The first one is the vocabulary, and the second one is the grammar, the rules and regulations which tend to stitch those words together. So when we are talking about vocabulary, I will share with you some resources with which you can improve your vocabulary. For example, there's a website called Corpus Quran, developed by University of Leeds. It's an awesome resource for you. It gives detailed grammatical analysis of the words. I'll share the link with you, inshallah. And then you can use any Quranic Kareem with the meanings. If you know Urdu language, there's an app called Quran Asan. You can use that. It will give you word by word meanings of Arabic and the meanings in Urdu, but not in English. There would be some app in English as well, but I generally use Corpus Quran, so I don't know about them. And then I would give you a file of 80% words in the Quran. So what you can do is you can go through these words, forget about the mechanism of how these words are actually being crafted, but what you can do is that you can focus upon memorizing those words and trying to identify them in the Quran, where you can actually kind of help yourself to increase the vocabulary. So once your vocabulary is made up of about 5,000 words, it will obviously take time, but then you will be able to understand what is written where in the ayahs where you are reciting, right? So coming back, just let me repeat what I said to you in the earlier. The first thing is that there are three parts of speech in Arabic language. Number one is ism, number two is fail, and number three is harf. Ism is a noun and pronoun, generally the names of the things. There are other types of nouns as well. We'll talk about them in later. Then we have verbs. Verb is the word with a tense. That means it will tell you whether the action is being performed in present, future, or past. But in Arabic, we have only two types of verbs, fi'l madi and fi'l mudare. Madi is for past and mudare is for future or present tense. Then we have harf. These words, they are small words. They do not give any particular meaning by themselves unless they attach themselves with another word, and then they become meaningful. Or as standing alone, they don't give any sense. So this is the first thing I discussed. The second thing which I discussed was that the the stuff which you are going to memorize is going to be crucial, because that would be vocabulary. With the vocabulary, you will utilize the rules of grammar, which I'm going to teach you, and then vocabulary plus grammar will make the language which you will be able to, inshallah, understand. So these three things we discussed. Now, moving on, I want to teach you something which is called verb forms, triliteral root system, and something in Arabic we call abwab. So in Arabic, you have words coming from three root letters, four or five, and these are called sulasi if they are coming from three root letters. These are called rubai if they are coming from four root letters, and these are called khumasi if they are coming from five root letters. Now I'll give you a list of words, and I want you to notice these words. For example, Quranic Kareem, in the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and alhamdulillah, we are trying to be among those people who says the best among you are those who learn and teach the Quran. Khairukum man ta'allama al-Qur'ana wa 'allamahu. So these two words, ta'allam, allama. Then ta'lim. You might have heard this word. If you are familiar with Urdu language, which probably you would be, then you might have heard it. Then alim, then ma'loom, then mu'allim, then muta'allim, then mu'amala. All these are Arabic words, right? They have something in common. Can you figure it out? Anyone? Can you pick out any peculiarity, any commonality between all these words? Nobody? Well, okay. Yes, please. Radif and Qafia, you've gone very deep. Anyone else? Hasnan Sahab, I think you raised your hand. Somebody raised the hand. Hasnan Sahab, yes, please.
Yeah, it's Amal. Ain Meme Lam. Root letter.
Ain Meme Lam. Right. So I would say, thank you. It's Ain Lam Meme. The sequence is also important, right? So it's Ain, Lam, and Meme. These are the root letters. This is because these are three. These are called the triliteral root system for all these words. In Arabic, we call it madda. That means all these stencils which we are going to use for them will have all these three letters. These are also known as huruf asli. That means these are the original three root letters which are going to form all these next incoming words which we see here. And then there could be some extra letters which will come and go. And then there would be some letters which will come and go. Because they are not permanent, they will be called hurufu zaida. That means the extra letters. But they will not be permanently there. Okay? So in Sulasi, what we have is that we have three root letters which will be permanent over there. We call it Sulasi Mujarrad. You can write it like this because it's with Sa, or you can make it easy and write it like this. I'll write it like this for you to make it easy for you. Mujarrad, right? That Mujarrad means alone. That means the three letters will not have any extra letters. So those patterns or stencils which develop from these three letters, and they do not have any extra letters in coming in, they are called Sulasi Mujarrad. And in general, there are six common patterns which we are going to use. If you're using a book which has been written in based on English grammar and discussing Arabic by maybe a person who's hailing from Europe or the US, then you will find all these Sulasi Mujarrad Abwab in bracketed in one form, and that is called form 1. Then some extra letters coming in and staying there most of the time, but not always. Then you have something called Sulasi Mazid Fi, right? And then these are called form 2, 3, 4, 5. But we are not going to go in a lot of detail about that because we haven't touched this topic in the routine Radiance as well. Um, then there could be certain words which are derived from four root letters. That means four root letters are always there in all the forms. That those will be called Rubai, Rubai Mujarrad, and Rubai Mazid Fi. In the same way, we have words which have been derived from five root letters, and we have Mujarrad and Mazid Fi there as well. But the way of teaching I have is that I discuss most common things first, and I leave behind those things which are not commonly used. So we are not going to discuss about Rubai and Khumasi, maybe in next 2 years or so, till next 2 years or so, or something like that. Maybe or even later than that, because there are very few words which are Rubai or Khumasi. So we'll focus on Sulasi, Mujarrad mostly, and then Mazid Fi when we are done with Mujarrad. In the routine Radiance class, we are on the first Bab Nasara in the Mujarrad case, and we are only doing something which is called Sahih, which you probably won't understand right now, but inshallah, once we are done with these Ramadan classes, you will be able to understand. So let me revise what we have discussed right now. The first thing I told you was that there are three parts of speech: ism, fail, harf. Ism is equivalent to noun, fail is the action words, the verb, and the harf is actually the words which do not have their particular meanings. The harf needs to be discussed a bit more. Now I will discuss that. Like min and ila, the next word when comes after min is always in having a kasra, a zair in underneath it. So there are a lot of huruf, most of them rather, they give a kasra to the next incoming word, and these are known as hurufu jarra. So when you see min, the next word is automatically minal masjidi. If you see ila, the next word is most of the time, like all the time, ilal baiti, right? Why does that happen? Because these are known as amils. Amil means somebody who works on something, a worker. So these words are worker words. That means they will give certain form to the next incoming word. So these are hurufu jarra. Then there are certain words which are hurufu nasiba. So they will give us a fatha or the zabar to the next incoming word. For example, you see inna allaha. So inna allaha, why Allah is in the maftuh, or you say having a fatha, because inna is behind that word particularly. Like it's the same way you might have heard kana, kana Allahu. Then the kana will give a dhamma to the next incoming word. So the hurufs, they are amils. That means they change the form of the next incoming word. This is an additional point which I wanted to raise over here. The first thing we discussed about ism, fail, and harf. The second thing which we discussed about was that you need to memorize a certain fraction of vocabulary to understand whatever we are doing. So I will share with you certain resources, and I would request you to go through them so that you can develop a good vocabulary, and then you can use the rules of grammar to stitch those words together to make meaningful sentences. Okay. And the third thing we discussed was the basis of the verb forms. So the verb forms, they come from certain letters which are known as root letters. They can be 3, they can be 4, or they can be 5. In case if there are 3 root letters, you call them sulasi. In case if there are 4 root letters, you call them rubai. And if in case if there are 5 root letters, you call them khumasi. But we are not going to discuss about rubai and khumasi. We'll only talk about sulasi. So the sulasi could be only consisting of 3 root letters and no extra letters which are coming and going. So that will be known as sulasi mujarrad. These are in English. In English, if you're reading Arabic grammar through the reference of English grammar, these are known as form 1. But in Urdu grammar or in Arabic itself, there are 6 different abwab or patterns which these words take, right? One of them is Bab Nasara, one of them is Bab Daraba, Bab Sami'a, Bab Karuma. So this is how we name them. What is the benefit of memorizing the abwab is that whichever words are going to come from these abwab. So for example, if I say a particular word, Taraka Yatruku follows a particular bab, Nasara. So you might have memorized by that time Bab Nasara, the basic conjugation of Bab Nasara. So you will simply put Taraka in the place of Nasara and just read like a computer, and you will make all the forms easily because you know that Taraka form follows Bab Nasara. So it makes it easier when you particularly memorize each Bab. We'll do that. We are on the routine classes. We are only on the first Bab, so you don't need to worry about it. When you'll join the routine track, you will be easily, inshallah, following that. So this is where the verbs and the verb forms are important. Now what we do is to understand the stencil, give connotations. Do you have any questions before I move on? Does anyone have a question? No questions? Okay. Now we have given names to the letters. So you had fa, ain, and lam. Fa'ul. So you had 3 letters, right? Ain, ta. If we talk about the word taraka, ra, taraka means to leave, and kaf. So the fa'ul kalima is actually ta in here. When we are talking about the word the kaf. Or we can talk about ja, la. Alam tara kayfa fa'ala rabbuka bi ashabil fil. Alam yaj'al kaydahum fi tazlil. So ja'ala, right? So you have 3 letters, right? And this particular form which I'm writing, which has only 3 letters, is the base form of all the verb conjugations. So this is third person singular. So when we start the Arabic word conjugation, we start with third person singular that has only the 3 letters which are the root letters. So taraka has 3 root letters: ta, ra, and kaf. And if you remember, you said Ain Mim Lam. Why didn't I say that Ain Lam, it's Ain Lam Mim and not Ain Mim Lam? Because the first form is Alema, like the first conjugating form. That means he came to know, he knew, right? Jala, he made. He is third person singular. Taraka, he left something or dropped something. So we are only having 5 minutes left. So I'll just try and wrap it up. So this is the third person singular, which is the first form of the verb conjugation when we are conjugating the Arabic verbs. Then all the rest of the form, there are 14 forms of every verb in terms of when we are conjugating them in relation to the pronouns which we are going to use or the person. Okay. So ta is the first letter. We call it faul kalim. Then Ra is the second letter and we call it Ain ul Kalima. And Kaf is the third letter, we call it Lam ul Kalima, and it becomes Fa La. So any word you can have can be put on the stencil of Fa and Lam, and it gives you a lot of meaningful understanding that what is happening. For example, I said Talim. I know that the basic root letters are N, Lam, and Mim. I put fa and lam instead of that, and it becomes taf'il. And it gives me some idea that where that particular word is coming from. In the same way, I can take up any word and I can put it in place of fa, ain, lam, and this is the way I will understand that how this particular word was formed. So it will give me the idea that how a particular word is formed when I put the three root letters in place of fa, ain, lam, because it will give me a place like mufa'ala, taf'il, fa'il, maf'ul. So everything we put and in place of fa and lam and gives me some meaningful understanding of what's happening here. Okay, so we did just discuss three or four things today. The first one was that the parts of speech. The second was the verb forms, the triliteral root system. What are the different forms which we call abwab in Arabic? That there are three root letters in most of the words, and we call them Faq ul kalima, Ain ul kalima, and Lam ul kalima. We discussed the words coming from three root letters. That was Sulasi. If there are only three root letters, then we use them, call them Sulasi Mujarrad. And if there are extra words coming here and there, then we call them Sulasi Mazid Fi. So last 3 minutes remaining. If you have any questions, you can ask them. If you do not want to ask now, what you can do is you can send me a WhatsApp. We've been recording these class, right? So once we put up the class on YouTube, we'll share the link on the group. You can watch this class again. I think Dr. Hafiz Arshad Saab has joined a few minutes back. He might have missed part of the class. So you can probably go through this class and you can go through the first 4 or 5 lessons of Radiance, and it will give you a better understanding of what we have covered and where we are going from here. So by the next week, I'll share with you certain resources. The first one is Corpus Quran. I'll share with you the 80% words of the Quran so that you can start understanding them, trying to memorize them. Don't try to go into the structural details that what has happened here. Just try to do some rote learning in the beginning, and inshallah you'll be able to stitch those words together, apply some rules of grammar, and will be able to compose meaningful sentences. And you would remember that the language consists of speaking, listening, writing, understanding. So in Quran, our purpose is actually to understand the Arabic and get a view of what's being written here. Speaking is not our purpose mainly, but that would come as a byproduct of what we are doing. I think that's all for today. Inshallah, I'll see you next week. Till then, assalamu alaikum. If you have any questions, just give write them down. Send me privately on the WhatsApp, and inshallah, I'll try and answer those questions in voice messages. Oops, there are four. Oh, just a second. Sadiq Qain. Which word would be root letter? In Talim, for example, Ain, Lam, Mim is root letter. In Malum, again, Ain, Lam, Mim is root letter. So you can put them on the stencil, Maf'ul, and you will know that which comes against Fa, which comes again Ain, and which comes again Lam. All these will be the root letters. Okay? Right. I hope you understand that. Inshallah, I'll see you again. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.